Alright guys, before today's episode, just a reminder that we are now on Patreon. For as little as £3 a month, you can sign up and get access to an extra episode every 2 weeks, as well as some bonus content, including footage from both our live shows that we've done in Glasgow at the Stand and the Glee.
Yes, both very fun. You'll also get first dibs on tickets to future live shows.
Yeah.
Might have something in the offing soon,
Yes.
we, Mark?
Well, we're doing 2 at the Edinburgh Festival,
Yep.
one of which might have happened by the time this comes out. If you're listening in the future, they'll have all happened. We've also done a live show in London, but the plan is to record and put all those out in the Patreon as well. You get first dibs on tickets for that. You'll get access to all of those. Some backstage footage. We might do a wee day at the Fringe thing as well while we're here.
Just we're thinking of more fun little bonusy things, aren't we?
Giving you more and more. And there's now up to 17 extra bonus episodes already, so you get the backlog of all the ones we've recorded before.
Yeah, 17 hours of... Let's not... I'm not saying it's all gold.
No.
But...
A bit more relaxed. Relaxed.
Let a guard down a little
good.
over on Patreon. It's a fun vibe over there.
Absolutely.
Answer listeners' questions, that kind of thing. And,
that kind of thing.
What else is there?
We're going to London to do Some Laugh Live in London.
9th of September, is
9th of September.
Remember.
Yeah, if you're listening to this during the month of August, we are still at the Fringe doing our own stand-up shows as well. If you want to come see me, Stuart, or Stephen, who's actually just ran off to fucking perform his show right now. You can come and
He
see
could be
us.
dying on his arse in the corner as we speak.
We could be plugging a show that is literally not going well right now. But you can come and see us at Fringe as well. And tickets to the live shows all in the description. But aside from that, guys, enjoy today's episode.
Enjoy.
Welcome to the Some Laugh podcast.
It could be like, oh, that was some laugh, or there was just some laughs.
Well, no promising all laugh.
No, there's going to be some.
It's some laugh.
Because there's 3 of you
Yeah.
behind
I know,
us
it's
and me on the
It's
sofa.
like a press conference.
It does, like a really, or like a really intense version of therapy. Also, that you're 3 men.
Yeah.
I feel like. So, what is your relationship with your dad? Thank you very much.
Would you rather sit in one of
Yeah,
those
I'll
seats
swap.
and
No.
we swap?
No,
or-
we're not doing
No,
that.
no,
Me and
no,
Steve
no,
on the
no,
couch.
no,
No, that might mix up a
No,
bit.
don't. I'm like, I say that as a joke. I'm not intimidated by it. It's fine.
Well, I'm very glad because I have realised it's the setup of this studio, which we're obviously, as we are recording, we are in the Monkey Barrow studio once again for the first time since last August. I am recording here in Edinburgh during the festival. We're joined by Tatty MacLeod. Thank you very much for joining us, Tatty.
Hi.
Thank you for having me. It's exciting.
Yeah, but it is an unavoidably weird dynamic with the
Yes.
table and then you on the couch there.
Yeah.
But
Thank you for joining us. How are you?
Guys, you know we're not recording.
yes, we are.
Yeah,
I pressed
we
record. Yeah.
Very much.
Even when we have an actual tech here, I'm still basically in charge of all the tech. So we
What
are
is it
recording.
Is that like micromanagement?
Yes.
Well, yeah. But also you.
You're also eating fair enough, you're eating
can't
a
believe
sausage
you just
roll
eaten
on
sausage
mic.
I'm here a sausage roll. Me and Stuart very hungover.
Yeah.
Full disclosure.
Oh, really? What did you do last night?
Went to karaoke.
Did you? Who's karaoke?
Olga Cox.
Oh, got
karaoke.
Cosbury. Oh, very nice. I can't believe you still got your voices. Because I'm struggling a bit, and I'm like, I've been goody two shoes. I'm not drinking. I'm not going out. I'm going to bed early.
I'm the
squares
same.
this year that
I'm
not
being a massive
drinking.
square,
I'm
and
a
I
square.
have never before got ill at Edinburgh. Like all the sixth year at Edinburgh, every time I've come, I've got smashed every night, gone out, had fun. This year I'm being healthy. I feel like absolute shites.
Yes.
It's disgusting.
Do you?
I'm the
Oh,
same.
It doesn't.
Can
Don't
you?
do it. I'm warning you
Nah.
right now. I'm warning you. Don't fucking do it. It's a
so
waste of
glad.
time.
I'm the exact same.
I have never been able to do that because I always get the FOMO.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
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 That's good shit, Connor.
I've got big time FOMO. I would have loved to have been at the karaoke. What's your karaoke song? What would you do?
Oh, okay. So great question. Super
Thank you.
opener.
Thank you.
Sorry, just made
He's
my
very much
day.
a Jeremy Paxman.
So I've been on 3 shite Tinder dates at the same time.
We're going in, are we? Okay. Bit intimate, but let's go there. Want me a drink first? I think country music is always a really good one to go for on karaoke. So
I've been getting into country recently. It's
yeah,
just I
have
can't
you?
avoid
Which
it.
one's listening to? You should. I like Landslide by Dixie Chicks, which is originally obviously a Fleetwood Mac song, but the Dixie Chicks version is easier to sing along to.
Right.
And I would also do Gabrielle Dreams.
Classic.
That's a good
Yeah,
one.
I think those are good
Absolute
ones.
classic.
What did you do?
I done Robbie Williams' Angels.
Yeah, of course you did.
That was great. And actually, as a party piece, right, I used to sometimes find it funny to do it in a Scottish accent. So I'd be like, thoughts running through my head, and I feel like love is dead. I'm loving angels instead. But last night I just went up and done it straight. And I felt like the more...
Better reaction than usual.
I bet you can sing.
No.
I bet he can hold a tune. Can he
Well,
hold
I'll
a
show you
tune?
some Instagram
it
stories from
wasn't
last
that
night
bad.
and you'll disagree. But no, I mean, I feel like my stage presence makes up for a lot.
Oh yeah, you're like Freddie Mercury up there.
Well, okay, hang on.
You mean,
What did you do?
I sing, man. I can't sing,
sing.
and also I am losing my voice.
This
as well.
guy's
Yeah.
too cool to sing.
Yeah,
But you
man.
did say you would sing.
If Gun to the Head, I'd have done Danger High Voltage.
That's a
Electric
great one.
Six. I might do that next time.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Me and Dan Muggleton are thinking about choreographing something for the next
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, very good. Who
Matching
sang?
tracksuits.
Who was the hero of the night? Olga, obviously.
Yeah.
It's our night, you know.
Chris McGarver-Boyd went up and done I Predict a Riot by Kaiser
I
Chiefs.
did Everything I Love You.
Everything.
And Uptown Girl was better though.
That's, yeah.
But my favourite was Roscoe McClellan did I Would Do Anything for Love, but I won't do that. And it was basically a Meatloaf impression.
Yeah.
And it was fucking sensational. Brought the house down.
Yeah, I can imagine him doing well because he's got the
Yeah.
mohawk and everything. He
Yeah,
looks
yeah,
like
yeah.
Rocky.
And
Yeah,
he
rock.
used to be in a band. So did Chris,
Did he?
actually. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that was very...
It's always
Really
interesting when people
cheats.
get up there and they can actually sing.
Yeah. It's like when someone, like a celebrity on Strictly, is basically a dancer as part of their job. It's
Yeah,
not fair.
yeah.
Yeah.
Can you sing?
No.
All right.
I do sing in my show though. I have one
But you
song.
can't sing.
No, I can't sing. But it's difficult because it's also not funny.
Right.
So it's like a cappella end song of the show.
Have you tried doing it in a Scottish accent? It's quite funny if you do that.
I can't do a Scottish accent. And I also feel like if you're English in Scotland, you're doing a Scottish accent. Like, you got to, like, what is that? Are you trying to be funny? And in which case, I don't think locals find it funny.
Yeah, we don't.
It just sounds like you're taking the piss out of someone.
Yeah, it's quite hurtful actually when someone does it.
Also, the song is in French.
Right.
So I think if I'm doing a
Right.
song in French for Scottish accent, I
There's
don't
so
know.
many layers to
Well,
this.
this-
Yeah.
This leads us
Very.
into a lot of ones of discussion. Because first of all, right, Tatty MacLeod,
Yeah,
that
I
is
know.
the most Scottish fucking sounding name I've ever heard.
That is
Yeah.
a Balamory coded name.
Yeah, and I think there are a lot of Scottish people that come to my show expecting a wee lass, a local, and I've stopped doing it because I realised that not enough people responded well to it, but I sort of like thought I had to write a few jokes up top to be like, I know my name's Potato MacLeod, but I'm not one of you.
Yeah.
You're welcome to leave now before the show starts if you want to. But I've stopped doing that because too many people left. But definitely, there was my first day. There was a man called Col, Scottish man, front row, who fell asleep 5 minutes in, and I thought, you came based on my name. You don't know who the fuck I am. You have no interest in a show about English and French people. You saw Tatty MacLeod and you thought, get behind the locals, and you've rocked up when this posh cunt comes on stage.
Do you
But I'm
have
a-
any Scottish in you at all?
Yeah, of course.
You
yeah,
do, don't
yeah,
you?
yeah.
I've seen on your Instagram story, you're quarter Scottish, is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
how does that work out?
Well,
Grandparent?
yeah, one
One-
grandparent.
one?
Yeah, my
could play
my
for the
mum's
national
father. My mum's father is Scottish, so
Oh, cool.
so I'm 1/4 Scottish. Angus MacLeod is my
That's a good
is my
Scottish
parents.
name.
Even more Scottish than
Yeah,
Tatty,
yeah.
arguably.
Yeah. But it's weird, because it's like Tatty. By the way, isn't my. So also, we'll have to pause for a sec here. What are your names?
We should have introduced
I'm
ourselves.
sorry, but I've listened to the podcast, but like your voices. And
I'm
I haven't-
Steve, that's Stuart. No.
So this is Mark Jennings.
Mark Jennings.
We've actually never done this on the podcast. Maybe some of the listeners are
sorry.
confused as well.
We've never
Well,
introduced ourselves.
mine's Mark Jennings.
Mark Jennings, you're the tall one with the glasses. For anyone who's listening.
Yes. I don't always wear glasses.
Sorry, okay, I'm not going to keep it.
I mean, yeah, I'm interested to see how you're going to.
exactly.
Well, they used to always people used to get them mixed up all the time.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
Not
so much
not
these days, but,
anymore. Yeah. Stephen Buchanan. me.
Stephen Buchanan, yeah, with the beard.
Yeah, well, yeah, sure, and
And also with the beard, Stuart McPherson.
Okay, looks like he's in a band. Okay, cool.
Sure.
there you go.
Those are the
That's
three.
nice.
So Stuart,
Stephen.
Stephen, and Mark. Okay, great. So yeah, my name is Tatty, not my real name.
What's your real name?
So my real
Is
name
this an
is
exclusive?
Sure, you can have it. I mean, GQ haven't called me yet, so you can have it. Because I was saying with Vanity Fair, but I guess I should check
We
myself.
were told specifically not to bring up your real name.
Oh yeah. My PR are all over this. Yeah, my real name is Alexandria. That's my Christian. I'm not baptized, but that's my birth name.
Right, and where
Yeah.
does Tatty come from?
It was always a nickname. I was called Alexandria, and then my mum was like, actually, maybe I want to call her Harriet. And Tatty, I think, is a nickname for Harriet.
Okay.
So Tatty stuck, but Alexandria was on the birth certificate. So within like the family, I was always called Tatty from being like a child. But around sort of like my uni friends and all my school friends call me Alex from Alexandria. And when I came into comedy, I called myself Alexandria in the beginning because it's my real name. But Alexandria MacLeod is like 5 syllables. It felt really unfriendly the moment you got on stage. And it sounds super posh, and I just felt like it was not at all fun and it wasn't warm. And so I decided to change my name, like my stage name, to my nickname, which is Tatty MacLeod. So now people know me as Tatty.
That is. My family all have, like, all my aunties are called different names. Like, on their birth certificate is a different name, and everyone
My
calls them.
dad's like that as well.
I don't know
My
why.
dad's like that as well.
It's such a weird
But
thing.
the thing is, though, is that it's quite a posh English thing to do as well. Like, which, I mean, I'm not claiming any, like, relationship to, but people... They do think that, you know how you can be called like Patricia and then your nickname's Kitty or something.
Yeah.
You get a lot of that. So that's also what people think of when they hear that my real name's
Why do you
Alexandra.
think that is? Why does that happen?
what's that?
Is it
I
something
think, well, my aunties were named after, like, my grandpa's sisters, but then it got confusing, so they just changed the name.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
you have to go?
Yeah, because I noticed that because in my mum's heritage, Scottish heritage, everyone got called by like the father's name. So like there's a lot of like Angusina from Angus. Or like,
Angusina?
What?
yeah.
That is
That's
not
crazy.
a name, is it?
Stop
That's
it, you've not heard that
crazy,
before.
man.
Angusina, yeah.
This is an exclusive big
What?
thing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Surely.
You're teaching us about Scottish culture.
Thomasina?
Thomasina?
Thomasina. It's
Shut
another-
up, Thomasina.
No, it would be
my God, it's
Tamsin? No, that
No,
would be
it's
the...
Thomasina. It's like a real name.
Wow.
Yeah.
If there's any Thomasinas out there listening, please do it right in.
There is one of them on MasterChef, the woman who owns Oaxaca. I'm not joking. Her name's Thomasina Myers.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
Yes.
No, my dad's called John in his birth certificate, but he called Ian for some reason.
My dad's called Dave, but on the birth certificate it's Angus.
Davicina.
Yeah, David.
Davicina. What's yours?
Ian? Ian has seen it?
Ines.
Ennis?
Let's go with that.
Innocent
yeah.
Gun?
That is their name. Anyway.
Peter?
I don't
Patricia.
know. Right.
Yeah, that's it.
Saying names.
Should we just do this for an hour? This could be the podcast.
Sometimes it can be. But you say, obviously, that's a very posh English thing. Also, what's another posh English thing, in my perception, is being able to speak French.
You grew up in France?
Yeah.
But you're
so
born
that's
in
fair
Zimbabwe. We do know
God,
that.
you've done your research.
Yes.
But I guess you've read the bio to my show.
Yeah.
To me,
in the
it's
front of an Uber.
impressive.
We've run out already. That's all we've got. No, it's great.
Freewheel it from here. But yeah, that's cool. So you were born in Zimbabwe?
Yeah.
Talk us through that.
I mean,
Not in detail. Family birth.
20 minutes.
let me get my notes up. I
We've actually got a video of it on the screen we're going to show.
exactly like me as a child, cut to. I haven't got loads of like notes on that because I was born there, left when I was 1. I think from what I understand, my father was working for a charity or something of that ilk, and was living out there as a result of it. And I was born there, and then we left like a year later.
Right.
My parents got divorced in Zimbabwe. We moved to the UK. My mum and my sisters. We lived in the UK maybe for another 3 years in North Yorkshire, in Knaresborough. And then we moved to France when I was 4.
Right. And how long did you live in France for?
Till I was 18.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So I moved back to the UK to come to university.
So would you, well, I get obviously, like, I guess you just grew up bilingual then, did you? Or-
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is that, you know, when you move somewhere and you're that young, are you all Scottish born and bred?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, what happens is that, like, I don't think that you really have an understanding of, like, there being another language until you get, like, old enough to understand what language is.
Sure.
I don't remember thinking to myself, oh, there's a second language spoken here that I can't speak, because communication just becomes, like, communication. And, like, when you're talking to people, it's like, when you're really young, it's just, like, you don't even clock that you can't speak the same words. You're just communicating through, like, movement and pointing and stuff. So you don't understand. But obviously, my mum doesn't speak French, still doesn't speak French.
Really?
So at home, we were speaking English all the time. And then I went to a local school. I went to a French school. So I picked up French at school. And that was basically the balance. And that's how I became bilingual.
Right, okay. So what would you identify as, English or French more?
Well, this is kind of what my show's about.
Oh, okay. No
Because-
spoilers.
Well,
He's giving away the ending here, guys.
because basically I don't have French nationality.
Right.
So it's this weird kind of
Because of
thing.
Brexit.
But yeah, well, yeah, kind of. Or it was like I never thought I never applied because I was just like, oh, I can't be bothered. That sounds like a lot of admin.
Sure.
I'll just like whatever, I have a British passport, that'll get me in. Do you know what I mean? I didn't think about...
When you were 18, you couldn't legislate for
fucking
knowing
way.
that we were going to leave the EU at any point.
No,
yeah?
and also just like the admin of having to apply for nationality. It's like you have to fill out paperwork and it's just like a ton of stuff to do. So I never did it, and then Brexit happened, and now I don't have French nationality. Never applied for it. You can't retrospectively apply for it when you've lived outside the country for a long time.
Would you have had to do a citizenship test kind of thing?
Might have to, but I feel like I'd pass that. I think I'd be okay.
Yeah.
Do you think if you can go viral enough with your videos speaking French that they'll just give you an honorary citizenship?
I mean, that is what I'm working towards. I have become an ambassador for the British Council.
What?
Wow.
An honorary ambassador for the British Council. I think I'm allowed to say that.
What does that
Wow,
entail?
that's
Don't
cool.
know, but it sounds cool, right?
Yeah,
They've invited me to a party at like, I was going to say the ambassadorship, but that's not the word.
You know,
Embassy.
I've always said this about the British embassy to France. Clout chasers, aren't they? They really just love chasing clout. Basically, that's it. Just like, oh, you got a big Instagram following. You can be an ambassador for us. You can, you know.
Oh, I love it. I'm like, yeah, absolutely.
It's amazing.
Yeah, super.
I would love that to be Scottish.
Would you be a Scottish ambassador?
100%. I feel
I
like
don't know what an ambassador is.
Yeah, what do you do?
I'm picturing Ferrero Rochers, that's all.
I feel like it's
what
just about...
canapes.
If you were, I guess, what would you be? You would be Scottish ambassadors for the British Council?
I guess so.
Yes.
Or, yes, that would be...
Dismantle it from the inside.
Yeah.
So it'd be like, I guess the idea being that you're like representing Scottish culture in England.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
we're
like,
doing that in the
how
mo-
would you represent Scottish culture if you were living in England?
This guy, he's got...
Just picks up and Brew, the two of you.
here.
I'm hungover.
That's another thing.
Yeah, very
Tick, tick.
good.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think we would just, I do like a bit of, some music, some Loch Lomond by Ronrick.
Yeah, I'm surprised
perhaps.
not to hear that last night, actually.
Yeah, I know.
What? By what?
So there's have you ever heard the song I'll Take the High Road and You Take the Low Road?
You ever
I'll be
been
in
at a Scottish
for you.
wedding, Tatty?
Give it.
I'll take the high road and I'll take the low road.
Terrible rendition. but-
I'll be
Weird
in
key change.
Scotland before you. That one?
That one.
Hard to say. Hard to tell if it was just the rendition.
Point being that gets played at the end of like every Scottish wedding and like birthday party and stuff like that.
I think it's kind of a shame in the way because it's like my name is really Scottish sounding. I have got Scottish heritage. I don't know anything about Scottish culture.
Scottish culture.
I'm more biologically Scottish than I'm French. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
could probably get a Scottish passport should that ever happen.
Yeah.
But I know so much less about. I can't claim to be Scottish.
No, we didn't even know our bloody names, for God's sake.
It's got nothing to do with Scottish.
That's the first thing
Let's
about
not be
Scottish culture you should know.
That's what
Once
they
we're
ask.
on the ambassadorial role, that'll be the first thing that.
Yeah.
I've tried to be Scottish. I tried to support Scottish rugby.
Oh?
Yeah, when I was 18.
That's the most English
I was
thing
going
you
to
could
say.
do.
Very English thing to do.
Precisely. I've just been like, but I don't want to support England because that just feels too.
Too easy.
Yeah, and too like boring. I'll support Scotland instead. And I remember it was stupid thing. I mean, I don't know what I was thinking, but I was there, and if I'm honest, I was just there because I thought Scottish players were fit. Like, it's not Scottish rugby players
Rugby
were fit.
players,
I was at 18. I was like, cool. So we went to Twickenham with a friend of mine, Kerry. She was Irish. Well, we didn't have tickets for the game. We just thought it'd be cool to go to Twickenham to watch it in a pub. It doesn't work. Everyone who's in Twickenham has tickets for the game. So the moment you get there and the
Pubs are
game
empty.
starts, it will fuck off. And it's just you in a pub. And I had this like Scottish... I mean, I went in, I bought like a Scottish rugby shirt. I
Wow.
didn't even know the rules to
Who
rugby.
was Scotland?
Yeah.
Scotland playing England?
No,
Twickenham?
possibly. I don't remember. I was just solely focused on
Right.
Scotland at that point.
Interesting.
But I just remember people coming out the game, Scottish people, pointing at me, being like, "Oh, Scotland," and then I'd say, "Hi," and they just go, "You're not Scottish." So quite quickly, I was like, "Yeah, no."
But you can play the card that my grandpa was Scottish, whatever. That's the,
Yeah, but isn't that if someone did that to you, what would you think?
yeah, I'd roll my eyes. I
Just
would.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. It's a
Yeah.
bit American tourist in
Yeah.
Scotland, isn't it? Well, I'd
Yeah.
say I'm 1/10 Scottish.
Yeah, I've seen an American comic in Glasgow a couple of months ago, and he was just like had a big bit, and he goes, so I'm Irish Catholic, and we're all sitting there going, "No, you're fucking not, mate. You're just American. Like you're literally almost next to Ireland. You've came all the way from America, and he's
Yeah.
like, yes, I'm Irish.
Yeah.
And,
Not many of those guys at the old firm, is there?
No,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I do have a bit in my show also about my relationship to Scotland because I did some I did the Glee Club in Glasgow.
I've seen this on your Instagram story.
Yeah,
How was it?
How was that?
it was tough.
Oh, was it bad?
Christopher MacArthur Boyd actually was there when I did it.
So it was so tough that it's now a part of your show.
Yeah.
Really? Why?
Well,
Was it just a club
yeah,
gig?
I don't want to spoil it, but I'm sure no one's going to come. Was it what?
Was it just a club gig? Or was it a
Yeah, it
solo?
was a club. I was doing 20 minutes spot
Yeah,
at the Glee Club. I've done those before, obviously in England, but this was my first. And I've done the Monkey Bar in Edinburgh under no problems because obviously my whole shtick's about being French and English. And I had thought to myself, like, how do I make this relevant? Now look, you've got to have some context here. like the relationship between Scotland and England.
Yep.
Obviously, like
Frosty at times.
but that's not like obviously I was living in the UK when we had the independence vote in 2015 2014. Yeah, I was living in London when that happened, right? So I knew there was a bit of that going. Like I've heard of that. Like I saw that.
That was a thing that happened.
But like you've got to understand that like the rest of it completely goes over my head.
Sure.
Because I grew up in France. My mum never spoke about Scotland. Like I don't know what my grandfather was like, but he obviously wasn't bringing big.
You weren't even realising you're speaking a different language. Fucking Scotland's a whole different concept.
Exactly. No, but none of that. Like we did. A girl called Lindsay who was Northern Irish came to my school when I was like 12. It turns out that
Oh, that's all.
Knock on the door.
Lindsay's at the door.
That's Lindsay.
Because I was about to say, it turns out that Lindsay's family were like fleeing the IRA or something like that. Anyway, just drop that in casually.
In 2014.
No, we're talking like I was 12, so
Right,
what was like
okay.
2000 and
She's a slow runner.
2002.
Right.
Right,
okay.
yeah, but like, so that whole Irish, I mean, I shouldn't call it the Irish thing, Irish troubles.
That bloody palaver.
I feel like this is always going to be the most controversial podcast you've ever had.
You can relax
At the top
about
of
upsetting
it.
Scottish people now after that.
At the top of it, when you were like, you can cut anything, it's like, you're going to have to fucking cut something out. But anyway, so she came and we had to be explained, like, as a class group. We were like gathered round trying to understand this, like, what was happening in Northern Ireland and the whole Irish Protestant thing, because it just was not a part of stuff that we were learning in France, was not on our radar. So I feel like there's something similar with like the English-Scottish relationship. Like I knew it as a top line, but like I didn't get it. And so when I was going to Glasgow, it was on a weekend when there was an Old Firm game as well.
Right.
So I don't know if that like stokes up tension.
Yeah, tensions are high. At that point.
Tensions are high. You know, the Glee Club, Friday night. And I thought to myself, well, how am I going to make this English and French stuff relevant to Glaswegian people, to Scottish people, you know, because they're not English. And I thought to myself, well, I know geographically, obviously, of course.
I'm loving this process. By the way.
I feel like I know where this is going, but I'm so excited to hear it play out.
We might have to cut all this. But Scotland is technically or geographically part of Britain. So I thought I'll make this, instead of English and French people, I'll make this British and French people. That'll speak to them.
Yeah.
So I walked into Glee Club on a Friday night in Glasgow, like 300 Glaswegians or whatever. And I just went, give me a cheer if you're British.
Oh man.
Hear a fucking pin drop.
Oh wow.
And then I tried to get them back on side with the whole fact that I am actually a quarter Scottish.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, I'm one of you. Like,
I'm British as well.
keep digging that hole.
Exactly. And there was a guy who heckled me from the back of the room, and he kept on heckling me. And eventually, like, I had to address it.
Aye.
I was like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Oh man.
And it was so bad.
What was he saying?
Well, I don't know. I couldn't understand it.
Of course.
Maybe you've seen who's British. Try to back you up.
Didn't understand it. Didn't understand a word of the heckle. I kept on asking him to repeat himself, and had just gone from a point where I was trying to convince everyone I was Scottish, and then I couldn't understand.
That's
people were
not a
saying
way
to
to win a
me.
Glasgow room battle. Can
Oh
you
my
enunciate,
God.
please? I can't hear you.
Talk
properly.
It was a fucking shit show. It was horrific. The next day was better because I was kind of like, okay, now I understand. You know, you're not British.
Or some, well, you know,
It depends
We
who you
are, but we
ask.
don't like to admit it. Basically, is
Depends.
the-
Well,
Gee,
depends.
we
who you
are
ask.
in Britain, but I would identify as Scottish. No.
Yeah.
Yeah,
same.
precisely.
Yeah.
Well, all of that, but you know, it's in a way you just learn like don't go there. You know,
Yeah,
find a way to just avoid that being. And then the next day I sort of like added some bits in that made it more. But that's a thing that I remember that happened. And I do talk about it in my show if anyone comes. I don't want it to be like, you will hear that joke in my show.
Yeah.
You've turned it into
version of that's a
successful
joke.
comedy that works.
Sorry?
You've turned it into successful comedy that
Yes.
works.
Every time I say it, I get nervous, even in this room. I'm just like, I don't know if it's offensive.
No, it's not offensive. No, it's just funny. Like I think, but it depends who you ask as well.
It's just
'cause-
stepping on a rake, isn't it?
yeah, I'll be a bit. Like, but Rangers fans would probably identify as being British. Celtic fans would be Scottish.
Bloody know that.
But I would no, but I would say I'm Scottish as well.
Yeah.
even though.
No, I see. It just depends. Like a lot of people, yeah, it just depends on how you feel about the whole thing. We famously
we voted to
be
stay.
British, so
Yeah.
you know.
So more than half of us do, I suppose.
Yeah.
What can you do?
I feel like I brought quite a heavy subject of conversation.
no,
Something a bit
it's good.
lighter.
It's not all that.
But I did see that you did. How did you enjoy the rest of your weekend in Glasgow? Because I did see that you went to the art museum where there's currently a Banksy thing on and
Wow.
stuff like
Yeah,
that.
I want to go to that. Yeah, when
No
I went
way.
back to record Breaking the News, I wanted to get in, but it was sold out that day. But you know they're doing late nights at the Banksy exhibition.
Yeah.
They do like Friday nights to 11 o'clock. That I would like to go to.
My
I
pals
think
went
it'd
at
be
2
a
in
lot
the
of
morning because they thought it was 2 in the afternoon. They fucked it.
fun.
And then they were confused because it's 2 a.m. So it was actually Friday night rather than like Saturday night. It was like a whole thing.
Is it on at 2 a.m.?
Yeah, it's on all night. Yeah.
On Friday and Saturdays.
Yeah.
I
Are
actually
people
went-
going in and getting smashed? Like, what's the
I think
vibe
some
in there?
people are,
Is
yeah.
it like a club?
I don't know. I've not been, but I think
we
people
put
do
some
get
tunes
pissed
on
on
it.
it.
But I love that for them because I did think that I think that art museum was a shame because it kind of felt like it was a bit underfunded. And I think it's great that they've got that now. I think it's perfect for it.
Yeah.
And it'll be a good boost to like the coffers.
Yeah.
The main thing that
Queued
gets
round the
seen,
block.
I've literally never been in that. And the main thing that gets seen is just the fucking Duke of Wellington statue with the cone on it.
Yeah,
It's-
which I
That's
posted on
why
my
you did it then.
stories. Yeah, and I was like, why? What is? I just thought it was that night. And people were like, no, it's a thing that happens. No, I went all around Glasgow. I had a great. Well, you know, when you're clubbing and you're doing the different gigs around, I do try and be a little bit touristy.
Aye.
Yeah, you know, once you repeat it, it gets a bit, but it's easy just to spend the day in your hotel room.
I know.
Yeah.
Try and,
Yeah, for sure.
try and get out there.
Bit
Get
of
to
the
know
culture.
area.
When did you start doing stand up?
Properly, as in like, because I think you've got to make that switch to be like, I'm going to do this properly, and then it has to be like the open mics 4 or 5 nights a week kind of thing.
Yeah.
That switch happened for me end of 2018.
Why?
Yeah, winter 2018. I had come to Edinburgh. Before then, I was like doing acting, directing. I was doing a lot of improv. This is my 6th Edinburgh.
Is it really?
But at 5 before then were doing improv and doing acting stuff. And
Right.
2018, I'd got a job at the Bill Murray, which is like a really great comedy club in London, where I wasn't doing stand up. I was just like helping out. And that Edinburgh, I'd got a job doing a theatre show, and I was doing improv. And I just remember thinking to myself, you have to pick something, because you can't do all of them. Not when you've got like a full-time job. I was working as a tour guide to like pay the rent or whatever. And then also trying to be a performer. It's just like, you just can't. The acting was in the evenings. The directing was in the evenings, all day at work. So I made the decision that winter 2018 after that Edinburgh to be like, right, you're doing stand-up full-time. And I stopped doing all theatre, all acting, everything else, and just focused on stand-up.
Why stand up?
I felt like, I went to drama school and came out. I was like, I very much want to be like a serious actor.
Yeah.
Even though comedy was always my vibe. I was always, I was going to be a comedic actor, But I was like, oh, that's what I'm going to do. And then, you don't get work. I didn't get any work. Didn't get employed to do anything. Found it a real struggle. Started just like making my own work, like writing a play, doing some bits, self-directing stuff. And I think stand-up's the best for that, because stand-up's one of the few bits where you can get on stage any fucking night of the week. There's an open mic. If you're motivated, you want to do it, you can get stage time. You write your own stuff, you self-direct, and you perform it. So it's a lot of those other bits of the industry, but into one.
Yeah.
And I think that's why ultimately I went towards it. And also because I felt like there was space for me. It's like there weren't a lot of women doing it, or certainly less women. I felt like that's an area where like maybe I can have relevance. As like an actor who wanted to get into period dramas, it was like, yeah, well, join the fucking queue. Do you know what I mean? There's a million other Henriettas you want to get into that. So that was why as well. I just got to a point where I was like, acting's not, is not working for me. Like I need to take a new tact of how I can sort of be creative, and this worked.
Did you feel like doing stand-up could lead into getting more acting jobs as well? Because I think
I
a
hope
lot of
so.
people, I think a
Yeah,
lot
if
of people
anyone's
take that.
skills, the talent's still there. Do you know what I mean?
I'd love it if casting directors were casting off of this.
Yeah, can you imagine? Yeah. Finally, they've written down your names. That's who you fucking is, Mark Jenkins. My agent's like, you need to like change the colour of your hair if you want to get cast in stuff.
Oh, really?
Other than being like the alternative friend,
What's to change it from the colour it is right now?
which is bright pink. If it, yeah.
Wow.
I have to change it.
But you're like rebelling against that and going, no, this is who I am. I'm going to keep the hair pink.
No, I'm not really. Like, I do want to change my hair colour. I just think that, like, it's got to a point now where it's just become a bit recognisable.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, for the show that I was doing, definitely. But after this, I think once this show is done and I've taken it on tour, I think it's nice to have a little bit of a rebrand.
Absolutely.
To kind of, a bit Madonna. What are you guys going to do after Edinburgh?
I'm going to
The
stop.
hair?
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't do much with this hair, to be honest.
Really
Bought some Got To Be the other day, didn't you?
Yes, I've got
Hairspray.
some
Get through that
hairspray.
can.
so
Well, you
sometimes-
say that, but who's is it Mark? What's his name? Big Scottish comedian, really funny.
Nelson.
Nelson?
Yeah,
no?
he's dyed his hair platinum blonde.
Yes,
Yeah.
I
that's
saw him the
right.
other day. I was like,
But
fucking
I think it's so long for
hell.
us till we get to midlife crisis. Though.
That's a bit of shade. That's a bit of fucking shade.
Kidding on.
No, he's a friend of the show.
Friend
End of the show. Recent guest host. But yeah, you are correct. No, shout Mark.
Because I don't think, you've changed your hair. You used to have a little quiff and now it's nice and long and you look like an Italian footballer. I've never seen you without a
Okay.
quiff.
But I would say that
Sure.
I'm getting it a bit longer at the top these days. I'm leaving
Okay.
it longer and not getting it short when I get it cut.
We've
I've
all got
also-
the same barber, by the way, as well.
Yeah.
Have you really?
We could coordinate. We could all get in the chair at the same time.
Yeah,
I
you-
want to see like a cat, like one of those like things where they fast forward 10 years and you just all merge into the same person. Like I see that happening for you.
Well, I do remember, like, see when we started out, and like I always like, because we are kind of like similar. And obviously, I think like when we were starting out, you know, before you find your voice and stuff like that, I was like, I remember thinking at one point, the three of us should just band together and choose one of us to be the stand-up, and we'll just all write for them.
Yeah.
But
Be the
instead, what
face
we've
of
done is we've just done a podcast with the three of us, and actually, that's worked out a lot better, I suppose.
Yeah.
I know it, yeah.
But yeah, I guess sometimes, but you've got to make those choices, don't you? And like that, I think that's really smart that you realise that, because honestly, you're right that like, that like relatively probably compared to acting and stuff, like there's probably not as many, like there wasn't as many females and stuff like that. There was more of a no gap in the market, but like it was.
Yeah, but I don't want to make it sound like as if I defaulted into doing stand-up.
No.
I think like basically I would have always wanted to be in charge. I think that's a little bit of like a natural thing I've got where I like to direct stuff. I had my own ideas about the first job I got at drama school was being an actor on someone else's project, and very quickly I was like, well, I do it like this and I do it like that. So I think that's what's, you get addicted to that power when you're a stand-up, where you're like, you're running the fucking show, you want it like this, you want that entry music, you want to talk about this, like, and I think that's something which if you're like creatively driven, you always end up kind of wanting to go into the position of, I want to be in charge. So yeah, I think it would have happened anyway.
Yeah.
God, they sound so likable.
Did you explain all this to the Glee Club audience?
Yeah, absolutely. Sit down, let me tell you about me.
I actually like it when it's only me that's talking, sir.
Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't translate that well into a relationship when you just want to talk without anyone else saying it for most of the time.
I think you guys love it when you just talk at them.
Yeah. So this is, how many hours have you done then of stand-up?
This is my first
This
hour.
is your debut?
Yeah, it's my debut hour.
How are you
Fringe
finding
one.
it then? I mean, it's quite the start of the Fringe, but how are you
Yeah.
finding it compared to other years that you've done the Fringe?
And especially how you find it doing stand-up as opposed to like coming to the Fringe to do like sketch or improv or whatever.
Yeah, it's lonelier. That I've noticed. When you do improv, I was with like 5 other people in the group. CSI, Crime Scene Improvisation. They still run. They do it at the Underbelly. And there's like 5 of us, we know each other really well. We've been doing it for like a long time together. So you come up, you share a house, you've got a gang, you've got a crew, you've got like the same commitments every day, you warm up together. If the show doesn't go well, you've got other people with whom to sort of blame. Like, I came up on the 31st. First time I've come to Edinburgh before Edinburgh's like the festival's properly started.
A bit depressing until when you see
It's
it
a
all
wee
going
bit
up.
depressing, as you put it. Yeah, it is.
I had a gig that day. I started.
That's right. Fucking
Sorry?
I started on the 31st.
Did you? Yeah, some people did previews.
Yeah.
I kind of wish I had. It was just odd. I was just, well, obviously we saw each other at the Monkey Barrel thing.
Aye.
I was just like, I felt a bit discombobulated. Normally you come up and there's already such a whoosh of energy. You're sort of like pulled into it. But yeah, it's lonelier. It's like you got to kind of, you haven't immediately got like a gang with whom you've got to kind of like find your routine, find your people. And I felt myself much more of a loose end than I would be when I was like coming up with like a play or a gang. But the show is going really well. Ticket sales have been amazing. And I think to some extent that's 90% of your enjoyment of Edinburgh. It's like, if you're selling well, it's like there's this whole pressure that's been lifted of like, I don't have to fucking flyer. I haven't got to panic about bums on seats. I don't have to worry about this massive financial overhead that I've given myself. Because at the very least, I know that I'm going to make the money back. Now I've just got to make sure that the show's actually good and people fucking enjoy themselves.
And that's when it really gets hard.
Exactly.
That's even
Actually,
more
Nowhere
pressure.
to hide.
I'll not get time to do this. You ain't flyer, man. You know what I mean? Look at that bit. A lot of your videos and stuff like that, obviously, you do a lot of like French and British comparisons. First of all, what would you say is the main difference between British, which we are, remember, famously.
We're all British
And
here.
French is
We're all
the...
Stuart just looked down to the floor.
There's a Union Jack at the castle. I saw it from the Uber this morning.
I know, we actually seen that on the way there and like we were like resenting the fact that there's one. Anyway, but is there some distinct differences in British and French culture? What would you say are the main ones?
Well, I mean, obviously, this is like the content of my entire show.
Yeah.
But so it's
We're
like
trying to get you to burn the whole show in the
yeah,
podcast.
I'm well versed in it.
You're selling well. Can wait till after
I
the
say-
finish to put
no,
this
I
out
say-
if you want.
I say in like one word, and I think so the best way to kind of like sum it up, it's this concept of moderation. Like French people are they're very moderate people.
Right.
So everything is in moderation. You know, you have one cube of chocolate, you have one glass of wine, you have one bit of this, you have half a portion of chips. Everything's small and moderate, and it's very self-controlled. Whereas British people, it's like
Gluttony.
open the packet of biscuit, we're having the whole fucking packet. Do you know what I mean? It's like have one drink, you're smashed. They just haven't. That's why English people are much more like, loads of people are now going sober. I think it's because they're just not that concept of like having one glass of wine. It's like here, it's like you either are sober or you're getting fucked. It's like dry Jan, drenched the rest of the year. There's no like in between. And I think that as like a big cultural thing is one of the biggest differences between Britain and France.
Why
and it
do-
goes across all levels. It's like food, partying, drinking.
Manners, probably. I just wanted to get that French bit. Oh, wait, we've got a nod from the tech here. We've got a nod from the tech.
It's just I want to like in a nice way of putting it, like British people are extra. They're just like they're a lot. They're considered like a lot. French people, everything's quite in finesse, demure.
Why do you think that is? Do you have an answer?
We're joined by a sociologist, Tatty MacLeod.
Yeah, literally.
But it's
British
that thing, isn't
ambassador,
it?
by the way.
I mean, that, as you brought up, that's the famous thing that we always hear here, don't they? It's like, oh, in Europe, you know, the kids will have a glass of wine with their parents at dinner and all that shit, and we're like, what? Man, that'd be crazy. But yeah, I guess that's probably why, if you, as you say,
Well,
because of
my
the moderation
teachers
thing.
used to drink wine at lunch.
Wow.
Really?
They'd have like a carafe, but obviously
So
they're
did our
having one.
teachers, but that was
Not in moderation.
There's a bottle of whiskey in the drawer. And
Yeah, they have the whiskey in the drawer to like address the trauma of like their lessons. Oh my god, we were so fucking well behaved. Like we used to get into shit if we used the wrong pronoun to bad territory, but we used to get into trouble if there's two types of pronouns when you speak to people in a direct way. You've got
Tu and vous.
Exactly. Well
That's
done.
it.
Congratulations.
There's only
Mark
two things I
Dennis.
remember from French, and one of them is that.
What's the other?
Right, that's it. I actually weirdly brought this up when we had Celia in here last year when we were recording.
yeah.
Mark loves accosting French women. That's one of his things.
Yes, right. But the other thing I remember, well, first of all, this happened to me when I was in high school. You know how you used to do oral exams and you would record it and play it back? One time my cousin was in class and the teacher says, we're going to show you an example of a bad oral exam, and they played me. But there's no anonymity because the first thing you go is your
Is your Mark
Jennings? That's the whole name. You know what I
Peter
mean?
Clyde Bank on Ecos.
Yeah, I mean, we're all should beat a Clyde Banks, you know what I mean? But, you know, I'm only Mark Jennings. But the thing I remember, and there was a specific reason it stopped with me, is because there was a boy in my class who used to have to leave the class 5 minutes early to get to the other one, right, for reasons that we don't know any. But one day we were learning about this phrase called, and it was "c'est gal,"
Yeah.
and which is all one to me apparently.
Yeah, it's like he was to me like I don't care.
Yeah,
Dramas.
and so we were learning that, and then as he was leaving the class, he just kept going. He was like shouting to the corner, "Cementi girl!" for ages. And then, one of my mates who is from Paris asked him like years later, I was like, "Do you ever say Cementi girl?" And he goes, "Nah,"
Not so much.
because he's like, "Do you ever say it's all one to me?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess not."
Yeah, there's a lot of that. So, do you think that's why you would cost French women then? Because you've got this ingrained trauma about your French class?
Yeah, I just like it's just annoying to me that's the one thing that I took from French, like learning it in school, and it's something that no one
Well,
says.
that's not a bad thing to take from it. Most people say things like "Où est la bibliothèque?" So I think
I've
you've
heard
done
that.
quite well.
Yeah. À la piscine.
À la
Come
piscine.
on. We know these words
What
better
would you
than
say
we
is
know
like the
Germany's.
most famous? What's like the biggest thing people take away from UK French lessons?
Pencil case contents.
Stilo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh right. Okay.
Shat.
Shat.
Cat.
Is that cat?
I've shut myself.
Yeah, you don't pronounce a T, but yeah.
Shat?
Sha.
Do you know what Alec is? C'est bof.
Yeah,
Do
boff.
people what does that mean?
No,
It's bad.
you've said it with completely the wrong enunciation
God.
because boff
So you
is meant to
idiot.
mean
I was
like
drugged
I
up.
don't care, so it's supposed to be boff, but you said it boff.
Yeah, I'm
that
just
sounds
reading
like you
bof.
do care.
I feel like I always had an exclamation mark in my textbooks. I don't know.
There was also in the textbooks, I remember the name Fatih.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not a French name. Feti,
Fatih.
as in Fatima, maybe.
Maybe, but we used to think that was so funny. I'm sorry to any fatties listening. Not like fatties, but like, we were like 12. I thought that's hilarious.
Yeah,
but is
yeah,
it just
yeah,
a name?
yeah.
You know?
But you were saying, so obviously the two and Vu thing. So two is the more
No, don't
Sorry
worry.
to any fatties.
two
Yeah.
is the more personal. If you know somebody better, Vu is the more formal version. Is
Yeah,
that right?
and that's the kind of stuff you'd get in trouble about. That's the kind of stuff. I mean, there used to be in my school. We had something called the Great Blue. Well, I'm going to tell you. This was like one of these.
Steve's
Do you know how
Sacre bleu.
legendary shit happens in your school, and it like goes down from each year to year, and it was like, oh my god, do you remember when the Great Blue happened? This is like this is like tells you about, I suppose, the level of like behaviors that you saw in my school. So the Great Blue was this legendary event which happened a couple of years before me, where someone in a classroom had cut the lid off an ink cartridge and thrown it across the classroom. Ink had splayed everywhere on children's clothes, and a letter had to be sent to parents to excuse and justify why they had ink stains on their clothes. That was like a legendary rebellious event that had happened in my school.
Do you want to know the rebellious event?
Yeah,
that
I
happened in
do
my school?
wanna- yeah.
My head teacher get fly kicked in the face.
Do you know what I mean?
people.
This is it. I remember coming to England, and a teacher, I moved to the UK for 6 months when I was 14 and a half. I was in year 10. I went to King James in North Yorkshire in Knaresborough for 6 months, right? I had to leave because it was just, it was really, really hard. Because, I went from that into a school where our history teacher got locked in a cupboard. Like, I just wasn't prepared for it.
Yeah.
I just was not ready for
You know,
that
there's
level.
going to need to be some bloody letters about this, I'll tell you that much.
Well, our school was so fucking strict. Like, no one fucked with the teachers. It was just like, that didn't happen. You had to call your teachers vous. If you didn't, it was a detention. Like,
Wow.
extremely well behaved.
It wasn't like a Catholic nun situation, was
Yeah,
it?
it was actually.
Oh, it was? Really?
Yeah,
Was
yeah,
it?
yeah.
So was that just specific to your school, or would that be like French
All
schools?
of them.
Really?
I did everything. I went Roman Catholic. I did state schools. I did both. That particular school was.
You should have said that in Glasgow. That'd have been done a lot better. I'm both. I'm actually Catholic and non-Catholic.
I'm not Catholic. I don't know why I was there. My mum, she was funny. She put us all in this really, like the Pope came to my school. Kind of-
What?
Yeah,
You
JP2.
jealous, Mark?
Yeah, it sounds like
Yeah,
it.
this fucking thing about Incraft is a legendary thing. Bloody Pope came to your school.
The
Pope
Great
came to
Green.
my school. It was Saint Anne, which is like a pilgrimage point in Brittany. So there's a basilica attached to the school. So the Pope came to my school, and so that was kind of the school that I went to. But we all went there. None of us were baptized. Mum never spoke to us about religion ever. My Scottish grandfather was apparently aggressively atheist. So I just walked up in this school. I didn't even know what religion was.
Yeah.
And everyone was doing their communion, little communion, like the one, like, you know, just gradually. And we just were there, like, scrambling around, like, what's that? Who's Jesus? What's a prayer?
What a wild concept to have to learn about. Like, you just have someone explain. You're like, who's Jesus? And they're like, right, okay. Where do we start, really?
Where do we start? Exactly.
Yeah, because it just
Exactly.
feels like that's just you're just brought up with that and you don't even question. But like if you
No, nothing.
if they're just telling you this person is a thing that you need to just now all of life surrounds like Jesus basically. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
Christianity is a huge thing.
It's a
Well-
weird thing to come late to.
Yeah.
It didn't. I thought it was weird because I went to a really Roman Catholic school, but I don't remember it being relevant.
Aye.
Yeah.
It just happened to be
Just
that.
happened to be Roman Catholic, but it wasn't relevant.
No.
No, that's that's similar to me, to be honest. Like, we didn't, because sometimes I talk to people who were at Catholic schools, but they seem to get a lot more intensely than me, and I was just like, oh, it just kind of was like in the background, and
Yeah, exactly.
you know,
Yeah. Though we didn't have any sex ed. And
Yeah,
I
no,
wonder if
not
that...
to me, yeah.
not,
That's a
not-
Catholic thing, I think.
do you know how people here in the UK, I feel like people are like, oh, like we had terrible sex education. We didn't learn about blah, 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 blah. I'm like, we didn't have sex education.
That's wild.
I think it's a miracle that I'm not pregnant.
I know.
Well, you don't know how to do it.
I think it's a miracle. I mean, it goes at the bum, right?
Well, that's the Catholic method. That's the Catholic method,
It's
right
only
there.
some things.
But no, we didn't have anything. Not one moment. Nothing. Absolutely not even. Like nothing at all.
No, because we got some weird thing in primary 7, like where there was like a wee bit of like stuff they probably mandatorily had to tell you. But then, so I was like, oh, that's sex ed. And then I remember, like, and then we spoke about it because you said, because your girlfriend is Catholic.
Yeah, she went to a Catholic school and like in her French class, they taught her like all her Hail Marys and all that sort of stuff. So it was all religion and French. And in my French class, we got taught a song called that translates to "I am a pizza." Do you know that one? Is that a
Onions and
famous French song?
champignons.
Je suis une pizza.
Je suis une pizza. Do you know that one?
No, and I love how pizza's not even a French food.
Yeah, exactly.
But they're
yeah.
just like, yeah, it's all the
pointless.
same.
We sing that at the end of
Europe, innit?
Scottish weddings.
Is that before or after the?
Do you know what's interesting thing? Because you obviously do all your videos are in French, but with English subtitles.
So what?
A lot of your videos.
Sorry, see
Aye,
that.
sorry, me too.
Can we get some subtitles live for that?
This is actually the point I'm trying to make, is
Speak
that
more
like,
slowly.
because I feel like I benefit from the fact that you kind of obviously always have to have subtitles on social media videos, because then people that maybe wouldn't necessarily understand my accent, America or England or whatever, can see it and they get the joke.
Yeah.
Because they can fucking read it.
Yeah.
And similar with you do a lot of your videos
I
in
do,
French, but you've got
yeah.
English subtitles.
Yes, so I do that. On TikTok, I do both.
Aye.
So I have it in the language that I'm speaking, subtitles, and then I'll translate it into whatever the second language is. There is a contingent, definitely, of my followers who follow me just to learn a second language, or who are learning a second language and who follow me to. But you know, whatever, followers are followers.
We've had people that have said, like, we actually had someone in my gig a while ago, and they said they listened to this podcast because they were moving to Glasgow and they wanted to
Learn
learn
Scottish.
Scottish.
I'm trying to unlearn English at the minute. Brushing up.
Fucking hell. Yeah, so I get an element of that. So what was your question?
Well, I was actually going to ask, because I guess a lot of your followers are French or based in France.
It's a real mix, you know. Like, no, it's a real mix.
Aye.
And it's been really funny doing Edinburgh, because when I do my shows in London or I do my shows around the UK, there's a huge French contingent of expats, basically.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of the stuff that I talk about, it does appeal to you, especially if you've got a strong understanding of French culture and English culture. And it's kind of like playing on the two of them. So, you know, it's a good fit for that.
Yeah.
So when I do my shows in London and around the UK, I get at least 30% of the audience are French, or French speakers,
Right.
up to like 70% sometimes. I mean, some shows I do in London, I'm like, why am I even speaking English? We may as well do this.
Have you
whole
done a
fucking
gig
show
in
This
French?
is what
I
wanted
have
to
done
know.
it in French,
and half.
but it's difficult because running a bilingual show, you're really limiting your audience.
Yeah.
You're kind of like, who are these people? They're going to speak so fluently French and so fluently English that they're going to get a bilingual show. And if I was to translate the show for a French audience, I think I'd have to change a lot of the framework of like what I'm joking about.
Yeah.
Because you'd have to have a good enough understanding of English culture that when I reference Wetherspoons, you know what the fuck Wetherspoons is.
Yeah.
I discovered Wetherspoons when I was 18 and I moved to the UK. Bearing in mind that like I'm English, do you know what I mean? I still didn't, you have to live in the UK
Yeah.
to know what
get
Wetherspoons
that.
is.
Can't imagine there's a French equivalent, is there, to Wetherspoons?
What, a cheap empty pub?
Yeah.
Like, well, empty,
Chain.
but silent. Chain, no.
No.
No, there isn't.
They'd be on the streets about that, wouldn't they?
Revolution.
I'm trying to think about it, whether or not there's a French equivalent of Wetherspoons.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
I'm trying to think of any kind of pub chains in France. It's not the same anyway. It's a brasserie that you'd go to. No, it's not. It's
But is that more food based? No.
not really, but food and alcohol go together. In fact, I was talking to my hairdresser, has a hair salon. He's French. And he also has a cocktail bar in his hair salon. And he was talking to me. Yeah, he's
Our
fabulous.
barber doesn't have that.
No.
It's called Le Chapeau Cloche in Islington. I really recommend it. Anyway, and so I was talking to him, and he said that he had one of those food hygiene tests. And the woman came, and she was looking through his fridge and stuff, and she said, "But why are you're a cocktail bar?" And he said, "Yeah." She said, "But why are you serving food?" And he was like, "Well, because we're serving alcohol, so we have to serve food, otherwise people would get too drunk." And she was like, "What?"
So on COVID,
the
you can have a
fuck?
pint if you have a roast with it.
The role
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
fucking Scott Agnews show. No, that's like, and if you, because I guess like you would be like the perfect support act for fucking Eddie Izzard, basically. Like,
Yeah, and it's funny because he did I think a preview at the Bill Murray recently, and Barry was like, "Oh, can you come and open?" But I had another gig on. But yeah, I'd love to meet Eddie Izzard. I think that would be fab. So that's. But in Scotland, doing the show at Edinburgh, I have very few French audience members.
oh, really?
I mean, some shows I have like 2 or 3. So it's a completely different audience, and there have been some bits that I've had to sort of cut out. Because
Maybe like they're all like you and they just didn't know that we existed.
who existed.
Yeah, Scotland. Remember you were saying I didn't know what Scotland was?
Oh,
'cause you were in France?
Yes, yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's been really weird. So I've had to adapt the show a bit to kind of kind of match that. But so my audience, if you look online, because you can see on your Instagram what your audience is and stuff.
Aye.
My biggest following is in the UK. Second biggest following is in the US.
All right.
And like the biggest city is London, then it's Paris. And I think there's lots of French people, but also there's lots of people who are just have that feeling of being an expat. I think that's what I get a lot of out of my show. And that is what the show is about. It's about like trying to capture that feeling of, maybe your parents are from here. You got one mum who's Romanian, one dad who is Malaysian. You've grown up in fucking Paris, but now you live in London and your husband is Greek, which is like such a common thing now where people have these hugely global upbringings and really global sort of like family trees. And then they live somewhere. So it's about capturing that feeling more than anything else.
That's
Do you gig in France?
I have done some gigs in Paris. I've done both French and English.
Wow.
Do you find it hard? Like, is it a weird kind of hard like homecoming thing, or like do you find it hard? Do you enjoy gigging in France, or is it?
I mean, it
More of
depends
a
what kind of gigs.
challenge.
I mean, Paris is not my home.
Sure.
I grew up in Brittany, so it's very different. Paris, the English gigs in Paris are wonderful. Like they're home runs because everyone there is an English person in Paris or like an English speaker. So all of my jokes about the French work super well there.
Nice.
Doing French gigs in France is a very different thing. The comedy scenes there are really different. Audiences are very different.
Does that mean more racist? Are they?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I mean that doesn't affect me, but yes, they are definitely that's certainly true. There's some shit that French audiences laugh at and that jokes that French comedians make, and I'm just like, well, you could not say that over here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right,
These are the Le Pen crowd.
It's not. No, it's not even that. It's just Because actually there is a much more diverse representation in French stand-up comedy. Because when you think about like the big French stand-up comedians, it's like Gad Elmaleh, Jamel Debbouze. There's a big North African heritage in the French comedy scene. So what we call like Maghrébin, so Algeria, Turkish, people of that heritage from Paris tend to be like Celia, you know. So there's a really big tradition of that in France. So actually, there's loads of diversity, much more so I'd say even than in England.
Right. Wow.
But it's more that they just make joke like stuff they say, sexist stuff, just ableist stuff that they come out with. I'm just like, ooh, okay, that wouldn't be happening in England.
I guess because they're not like speaking English, no one here is going to, you know, the middle class liberals in England are going to fucking read it because they don't know what they're fucking saying.
But you know, that was a big thing about Gad Elmaleh, where basically it came out that he had been, for years, like pre the internet, he'd been getting VHSs, videotapes of like American stand-ups, translating the whole thing into French and doing it around France as his own material.
Wow.
Because French people don't speak English. I mean, more now, but not, 20 years ago. Obviously, we had no internet. Didn't have access to fucking, I don't know, Louis C.K., Mike Bilingual, whoever it was, on VHS. And he was just passing it off his own. There's a big thing on YouTube where you can look at the jokes that he was translating and using as his own.
That's crazy.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I think that's us running out of time, but can we plug your show before you go? Where is it?
Oh, so it's on at 2:10 at the Monkey Barrel, Monkey Barrel 4, 2nd to the 27th of August. Whatever day we are now. And I think the only days I've got left are the last week, but there are usually walk-ups every day and I'm adding some extra shows. So an extra show is going to be at 9 p.m. on Thursday, the 10th of August.
Will you be doing a tour after the Fringe?
I am doing a tour and I'll be coming back to Edinburgh. I'll be going to Glasgow.
Yes!
Go back to
the Glee Club.
I'll be going to Glasgow, January, February, March. I haven't announced it yet officially, but it'll be coming up on my Instagram page. So if you want to go follow me on there, Tatty.MacLeod, then you'll find all the info on that.
Amazing.
Thank you so much for
joining
being
us.
here.
Thanks for having me.
Great stuff. Before we go, just as ever, please remember to like and subscribe on YouTube. Give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and you can follow us at SomewherePod on Instagram, TikTok and Twitter, and send any emails if you've got any questions to ask us. Send us an email at somewherepod@gmail.com. Aside from that, guys, thanks a lot for tuning in.
Thanks
Cheers.
very much.
See you soon.
Thanks,
Thank you, Tatty.
I thought you were going to say before we go, just who are we again?
Oh yeah, my name is Stephen Buchanan.